Hello. Like last week when we had a special guest in the form of Bigo, this week we also have an interview. This person is a bit newer on the scene than Bigo was. That said, they have quickly become rather prolific and write a lot of interesting things. So, without further ado, thank you very much, Harbin. Now, Harbin has decided to do this in a text format, so they've requested me to read their responses out as Ron Perlman. I cannot do a good Ron Perlman impersonation, but I'll give it my all. How did you discover Worm? A friend told me about it while it was still ongoing. What was your favorite part of Worm? I think I like the moments of downtime better than the actual fights and action. Brian's interlude after his second trigger appealed to me because I always like those snapshots of thought processes. Whether a character is self-destructive or trying to pull pieces together, whether or not they're trying to improve, etc. I think it comes from really admiring how broken characters were written in books I've read and games I've played. Planescape Torment is a pretty classic one there. You're a rather fast and prolific author who manages not to sacrifice quality for quantity. Any tips for aspiring writers? Other hobbies are for losers. Honestly, I'm kind of obsessive. I tend to dive into something and just do my damnedest at it. I slowly cut out extraneous hobbies because I want to improve at writing and have something visible toward that goal. My strategy probably doesn't work for most people. I just sit down and start writing, and sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. I keep working and try to put out 1.5 to 3,000 words a day, and then look it over and see where I'm unsatisfied with it. Self-improvement is a pretty big deal for me with a lot of things I do. If I'm not moving forward, I tend to stagnate and give up, so I keep moving forward. I use a lot of my personal experiences in my writing, whether that's my own experiences or the experiences of others I know. What was your favorite thing to write? Certain portions of Rend, twinnings, and cutting ties, when characters really get into it, or when I really hit that flow. One of my favorite bits was this one, from Twinnings 1.3. Stalking was such a maligned word. Sophia was bringing it back. Taylor respected that. It was more like a tenuous long-distance relationship. Tenebrous in the case of Shadowstalker, the long distance was a crossbow bolt. I think 1.5 of Cutting Ties was really nice in that sort of blurry flow, heavy sereneness. It kept a lot of the elements I wanted while holding the leitmotifs that I tried to express throughout the fic. Emma's death scene in Rend was another. Any time I'm writing about a character's particular arc or personality, that tends to be fun, whether it's their personal flaws or their mindset. Getting into that particular headspace or understanding that point of view, that's really, really interesting to me. I notice that you often mention a lot of literature techniques by name when discussing what you've written. I'm presuming you have a history in English literature of some sort? As a kid, I'd read a lot. Like a lot. I would go to the library, read there, finish a book, check out several more books, finish another on the way home, then keep reading the rest. I'd return them and start all over again. I like sharing in the stories that really brought me a lot of joy as a kid. What are some techniques of yours that you're particularly fond of? Could you give some examples? Excessive M-dashes. Also alliteration. Brusque brief bits. Okay, but really, I like playing around with perspective a lot. For example, in Rend right now, whenever Emma feels uncomfortable and or dissociating, she tends to use her hands or her body. And when she's comfortable or happy, she switches to I and my. Small things like that are what I like. Or laying some stuff out well in advance. I like foreshadowing stuff something terrible. Choosing words. I love finding that perfect word for the situation. Focusing on one work or following your muse? Or somewhere in between? What's your opinion? I think that focusing on one thing is probably healthier for me. Jumping around tends to make me resent my works that are doing better because I'm petty. I still do it, but it's easy to just keep writing for the sake of writing that way. I love the meta split between space battles and sufficient velocity in Twinnings. What made you consider that? Was it just that you saw an opportunity with Coil Taylor and said, fuck it? I thought about it for a while, especially as I approached the crux of that arc. I decided against it at first, because it seemed like a crap ton of work, but then decided it was an opportunity I probably wouldn't be able to take again. What's your favorite fanfiction? Probably Bird Up. Any other recommendations? Stay in school, don't do drugs, study your passions, and one day you can be something. Or something else. Just enjoy something or other. Thank you for your responses, Harbin. Apologies for the lighting. I'm working with about a third of the resources our Congress has promised us, and Hamilton references aside, I really am just improvising with whatever the hell I have, and this is as good as it's gonna get for this video at least. Next week we will probably have someone else, because this is awesome and I like doing it. And I'll see you guys then.